Assalamu alaikum, Mustafa. I think it's up 6:50, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا بلاغ مبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم. قالوا طائركم معكم إن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. So inshallah tonight on the 16th day of the Maha Ramadan, we gathered together to continue our majalis for the Ramadan, and we keep in mind, and inshallah during the day, our prayers and our dua and hajat and tamam, all the prayers and a'mal is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are in the hope of Faraj Agha Imam al-Zaman Ajalallah ta'ala Farajah. Inshallah, Masumin have an eye in our majlis and we be in their presence, and our a'mal is accepted by Allah. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program, and thank you, Mustafa, for beautiful recitation. As you know, the program starts with Quran recitation, which Brother Mustafa just finished. The next item is the children's presentation. We have two presenters today, one from the younger kids, Ali Naqi, he will be reciting some surahs, and then the presentation by one of the youth students, Razia. So I'll start with Ali Naqi first, inshallah, and then Razia will be second presentation. So is Ali Naqi ready?
Yeah, he's ready.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum Ramadan. Mubarak to everybody. My name is Ali Naqi. Today I am going to recite Surah Nas. Surah Al-Nas is used for protection against the evil. It was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in Makkah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, yuwaswisu fi sadurin nas, minal jinnati wan nas. I'm also going to tell you the English meaning. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the sneaking whisperer who whispers in the heart of mankind, of the jinn and of mankind. Thank you.
MashaAllah, very good job, Ali Naqi. You did a great job, MashaAllah. And thank you, Kumail and his mother, for getting him ready for such a beautiful presentation. And now the next presenter is, inshallah, Razia Mirza.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'm Razia, and I'm going to be presenting my presentation about fasting and its benefits. So, what is Ramadan? Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. During this time of the year, Muslims fast from sunrise to sunset. Ramadan can last up to 29 to 30 days, depending on the moon sighting. In my presentation, I'll be going over fasting and its benefits. Why is Ramadan special? Ramadan is the holiest month for Muslims, but what's so special about it? During Ramadan, the reward for good deeds is multiplied by 70. In addition to that, Shaitan and all bad jinns are locked away so we can focus better on worshiping Allah. Empathy. Throughout the month of Ramadan, when we fast, we get hungry and thirsty because we cannot eat or drink. This teaches us to have empathy for the poor and needy who cannot afford to have 3 meals every day. Self-control. When we feel thirsty or hungry, we would want to drink water or eat food. Fasting teaches us to control ourselves even when we really crave for something. Doing so, we don't become a slave of our own desires and appetite, and instead gain consciousness of our decisions. Patience. Be patient and everything will reveal itself to you, are the words of Imam Ali. Patience is a little bit like self-control. When we fast, we can't get too angry, especially over little things that don't go our way. In order to avoid this kind of behavior, we must be patient so we gain more discipline over ourselves. There's some health benefits in fasting. It promotes blood sugar control by reducing insulin resistance, it detoxifies the body, and boosts brain function. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you, Razia, Reza. Very good presentation, mashallah. Will continue to do such nice videos in the future as well. So looks like that we are ahead of our time. Alhamdulillah. Maulana will be joining us soon. His speech is supposed to start at 7:10, but with Quran and kids presentation, we seem like out of time. So just a reminder for all the brothers and sisters, thank you for joining us on this Zoom meeting for Ramadan program. It's a reminder for the program. We have a lecture daily by Sheikh Ahmad Madaris starting at 6:50 with Quran recitation, followed by children's presentation. And then his lecture will start at 7:10, followed by question and answer sessions. On the nights of Amal, lecture will continue as a usual program, but the Amals and Duas will start at 10 o'clock. On the Shabs or Shahadat of Imam Ali, the program will be a little bit different. We're starting out at 6:35 with Quran recitation on the dates of May 13th, 14th, and 15th. With Quran recitation at 6:35, Mercy at 6:45, children's presentation 6:55, and Majlis will start at 7:10, and Noha will at 8 o'clock. On the nights of 12, 14, 16, the Amal Shab Qadr will start at inshallah 10 o'clock. And while we have few minutes, you have some manqabat or something you want to recite?
Inshallah, inshallah. I'll just recite a tatulafs of Hazrat Abbas al-Zahra manqabat. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। लोग तो बस बनी हाशिम का कमर जानते हैं, लोग तो बस बनी हाशिम का कमर जानते हैं, हम तो अब्बास को ज़हरा का पिसर जानते हैं। लोग तो बस बनी हाशिम का कमर जानते हैं, हम तो अब्बास को ज़हरा का पिसर जानते हैं। और किस में हिम्मत है, किस में हिम्मत है जरी से जो मिला ले आंखें, किस में हिम्मत है जरी से जो मिला ले आंखें, कौन है किसका है ये लख्त जिगर जानते हैं, कौन है किसका है ये लख्त जिगर जानते हैं। और वास्ता दे के भतीजी का चचा से मांगो, वास्ता दे के भतीजी का चचा से मांगो, वो सकीना की सिफारिश का असर जानते हैं, वो सकीना की सिफारिश का असर जानते हैं। और क्यों फरिश्ते न करें झूले से मस फुतरस को, क्यों फरिश्ते न करें झूले से मस फुतरस को, किसके सदक़े में अता होते हैं पर जानते हैं, किसके सदक़े में अता होते हैं पर जानते हैं। और दर बदर हमको भटकने की नहीं है आदत, दर बदर हमको भटकने की नहीं है आदत, हम तो बस हजरत अब्बास का दर जानते हैं, हम तो बस हजरत अब्बास का दर जानते हैं। और कैसे बनता है वफाओं का महल पानी पर, कैसे बनता है वफाओं का महल पानी पर, सिर्फ ये हजरत अब्बास हुनर जानते हैं, सिर्फ ये हजरत अब्बास हुनर जानते हैं। लोग तो बस बनी हाशिम का कमर जानते हैं, हम तो अब्बास को ज़हरा का पिसर जानते हैं। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले।
So we have few more minutes before Brother Sheikh Mudris join us. I just want to have a request that we have every year to cover the expenses for the program. I know when we see each other and breakfast together in the center, we ask and for donations. But for now, inshallah, I will post the address so you can mail your donations to that address to cover the expenses for the center. Inshallah, it looks like Sheikh Mudris is here ready to join. So I'm just gonna turn my mic and video off. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillahi alladhi ja'ala al-hamda miftahan li-dhikrih wa sababan lil-mazid min fadlih wa dalilan ala ala'ihi wa 'azamatihi. Thumma as-salatu was-salamu ala khayri khalqihi wa habibih. حافظ سره ومبلغ رسالاته حبيب إلهنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين الهداة المهديين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم وننزل من القرآن ما هو شفاء ورحمة للمؤمنين ولا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارة. صدق الله العلي العظيم. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our a'mal, our efforts, our fasting in this month to be accepted and they are maqbool. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you and your family and your loved ones, you are doing well, that you are safe, you are at the best state of health and iman, inshallah. From today, our topic of learning about the connection between Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. As we yesterday discussed the importance of Quran and Ahlul Bayt as source of guidance for Muslim Ummah. One thing we can see is after the Prophet ﷺ, there was negligence toward the family and the household of the Prophet. Inshallah, if it's the right time, I'll mention some of those traditions that Prophet ﷺ specifically advised Muslims to follow Quran and his family. Kitab Allah wa itrati, Kitab Allah wa Ahl Bayti. And how they replaced Ahl Bayt and itrat of the Prophet with anything else, that's mind-boggling. Because according even to Sahih Bukhari and other Sihah al-Sitta, the six, what is known to be authentic books of hadith among Ahlul Sunnah, Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nisa'i, we see that those traditions are more than one or two. There are numerous ahadith and traditions about the status of Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet, and also even the statement of the Prophet that said, I'm going to leave Quran and my family. And then he repeated 3 times. It's been mentioned again in Ahlul Sunnah, Sahih Sitta, that I remind you by Allah about my family. I remind you by Allah about my family, and I remind you by Allah about my family. So that's why, inshallah, in the month of Ramadan, in the second half of this blessed month, we're going to get connected with the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to get connected with revelation and wahi, and also with khandan wahi, with the family and the household of revelation as well, because they are the one without any objective in regards of dunya. They taught religion to mankind. And as I said yesterday, even while people abandoned them, even when people turned their back to them, they didn't give up on people. They still tried to provide guidance. They provided a direction and provided, as what we know as consultation, to people who were in a place that they were not even, they did not deserve to be in that place. But Ahlul Bayt consulted them for the well-being of Ummah and ultimately guidance of humanity. That's role of the Imam. And Quran also, as a final revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a final book. In this month of Ramadan, all of the holy scriptures were descended and were sent down on this month. Zabur of Dawood alayhi salam, Injil of Isa alayhi salam, Torah of Musa, and ultimately Quran of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to traditions, is believed to be revealed in the month of Ramadan. So this final book of Allah is the greatest miracle of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one thing we see in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt is that at the time of confusion, go to Quran. At the time that the darkness of ignorance takes over, go to Quran. That the best divider of truth and falsehood is Quran. These are the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. We have that Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said is not acceptable for a mu'min, and with this case we're referring to mu'mineen who follow the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, what is known to be Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So la yanbaghi is not acceptable, is not okay for a mu'min to die, to leave this dunya, unless they already learn how to recite Quran, they become literate in recitation of Quran, or they are on the process of learning how to recite Quran, how to read Quran. This is the word of the school of the teacher and the Imam of our school of thought, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. So Quran has that impact on our soul. That Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we have that Imam Raza alayhi salam would often complete Quran, Khatmul Quran, not just in Ramadan, outside the Ramadan, rest of the year. And we have that if somebody recite 10 verses of Quran daily, they will not be written and they will not be counted as ghafilin, forgetfulness, those who are forgetful and those who are heedless. That's the power of Quran, to wake us up, to give us that sense of awakening. And of course, when we say reciting Quran, is a Quran with understanding, with submission to Quran, with following the message of Quran. We have in tradition, رُبَّ تَالِ الْقُرْآنِ وَالْقُرْآنُ يَلْعَنُهُم. There are many that they recite Quran, but Quran does not bless them, rather it curses them because of their action, because of how they are reading the verses of Quran and they disobey the command of Quran. They know what Allah says and they turn away from it. The same way when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reciting Quran, there were people who يَجْعَلُونَ أَصَابِعَهُمْ فِي أَذَانِهِمْ. They will place their fingers in their ears to block their ears to not listen to Rasulullah, to not listen to Quran. They put cottons in their ears because they would believe that the word of the Prophet, the word of Quran will mesmerize them. So if somebody recite Quran, but as those people in the time of the Rasulullah, they don't listen. They don't pay attention. They don't give it the priority that it has to be given. So the hadith said, if you recite 10 ayah, that person will not be written from the ghafilin and the forgetful. If they recite 50 ayah, they will be written and considered dhakirin, those who are mindful and those who constantly remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the power of Quran. And those who recite 100 ayah of Quran, they will be written as qaniteen, those who are obedient, those who are servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So by recitation of Quran, somebody elevates their soul. But Quran itself said, when somebody come and recite Quran, their heart must be ready. Their heart must be open to receive the truth and the light of Quran. Not everyone who recites Quran is going to benefit from it. The source of that is Surah Isra, verse 82. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. Allah said, we sent down Quran to be cure for your heart, for the diseases of your soul, for corruption, and is mercy and guidance for the believer. But when it comes to zalim, when it comes to someone who's unjust, oppressor, wrongdoer, لا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارة. Quran says somebody who wronged themselves, somebody who's zalim, will not gain anything from Quran إلا خسارة, except loss, rather than guidance, because they are zalim. And with dhulm, with injustice, with committing injustice, and I come to that, somebody is sealing their heart, sealing their eyes and ears, as Quran said, ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة. Those are the ones that Allah will seal their hearts, and Allah will seal their ears, and there will be a veil on their eyes that they cannot see. صُمٌّ بُكْمٌ عُمْيٌ فَهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. They are the one that they are deaf, they're dumb and blind. They are the one that they don't ponder, they don't reflect. So when we read Quran, it's important to first deal with dhulm, and we have to learn about that. So our subject of tonight, which it will take more than a night, it's on the subject of justice and injustice in the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. We have to know about these two. Because if somebody is unjust, we have that this injustice will not just corrupt them, but it will corrupt their surrounding. Hadith said that عدل ساعة أفضل من 60 سنة من عبادة 60 سنة. 1 hour of justice and idalat is better, is greater than 60 years of worship. Imagine that. Just imagine how justice is crucial. Imam Ali alayhi salam said that justice is asas qawamul alam. The stability of the world is based on justice. Not a very long time ago. And by the way, let's define what justice and what dhulm is. Justice is being defined by Imam Ali alayhi salam, and also is being defined by the linguist وضع الشيء في موضعه. When you place something in its right place, in its worthy place, when you pay someone's right when it's due, that's what justice is. To place everything in a proper place. وضع الشيء في موضعه. That's what justice is. So let's say if somebody talks about soul, if somebody, the soul is that as Quran said, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورًا وَتَقْوَاهَا. The place of soul is to have taqwa. The worth and the value of soul is to be virtuous, to be pious. That's what the worth of taqwa, the worth of soul is. That's the place of soul. Anything of that's deviance, is injustice to soul. If somebody leaves taqwa, they commit act of disobedience, then that is taking the heart and soul to deviance. As we say in the dua, probably you heard it in the month of Ramadan, it's from Surah Al Imran, رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا. Oh Allah, don't let our hearts to get deviated after we found guidance, and straight path. So that's what justice means. And Imam alayhi salam said, قِوَامُ الْعَالَمِ, the stability of the earth, the stability of the world, the universe is based on justice, that everything is in its right place. Sun is where it has to be. الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ بِحُسْبَانٍ. That Allah said that the moon and the sun, they are going on their own calculation, their own precise motion. That's what justice is, that they're in the right place. Just, it was not a long time ago that we're talking about this asteroid that was coming toward Earth. It was literally around, I think it was a month ago, more or less. And they said there was a chance of 4 to 7% miscalculation because, according to NASA, that asteroid, which was, and the size was equal to the size of the continent of Africa. There's a possibility for the calculation to be, there is a 4% to 7% chance of miscalculation that it will hit the Earth. But most probably, according more than 90% chances is going to we're going to miss it, is going to pass by. And there's actually a projection, there's a video of that. You can see that how the orbit of the Earth is around the sun. This asteroid is coming. Of course, the size is being zoomed out for us to see the reality of it, that how close it is that it missed the Earth. And if it would have hurt the Earth, it was end of life as we know it. But that's what justice is. That everything moves. These are not coincidences. Everything Imam alayhi salam said is justice in the right place that they have to be. Even when it comes to, when we talk about earthquakes and these all natural phenomena, there are explanation for them. They have their own place in the stability of the earth. I leave that, inshallah, to your own curiosity to study about it. But when it comes to our spiritual life, we have to have that justice as well. Imam Baghr alayhi salatu wassalam, in every Jum'ah prayer, in the second sermon, in the second khutbah, which, by the way, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that after the end of this pandemic, we will be able to go back to our communities, inshallah, once again, perform Jama'ah prayers and have that gathering and that unity once again together in our communities after the end of this pandemic, inshallah. There is an ayah that in Surah Nahl, verse 90, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there are commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are 3 commandments and there are 3 prohibition, or what Allah forbid us from. And Imam Baghr alayhi salam would recite this ayah at at the end of his second khutbah, at the end of second sermon, Jumu'ah prayers every Friday. What is that ayah? It's from Surah Nahl, verse 90. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba. The three commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First one, Allah's amran commandment is justice. Allah commands you to be just and to stand for justice. Bil adl. Second is wal ihsan, is to do good, to be kind, to help. Ihsan is in any form of support and help we offer for others, kindness that we offer. Allah said this is the commandment of Allah, wal ihsan. And third, wa ita'i dhil qurba, is to support and give for those who are closest to you. So this is also a good ahkam moment to remind people. Ask me, is it permissible to give our zakat or sadaqah to family members who are in need? Yes, priority goes to them. Priority is to help fuqara in your family before you do it anywhere else. That's why when it comes to zakatul fitr or fitriya, according to Sayyid Sistani, it's not permissible to send the money somewhere else unless there is no poor in your city. If there is no poor in your area and your city, then you send it to another city or another country. But it has to be spent in the proximity that you live if they are eligible fuqara. So Quran said the third commandment of Allah is wa ita'i dhil qurba, is to give and be generous and help those who are close to you, your relatives. And then there are three warnings, three prohibition, nahi. And what are the three prohibition? وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ. The first one is to stay away and control yourself against indecency. Second, وَالْمُنْكَرِ, to stay away from what Allah forbid you from, the haram in general. What is being munkar means those activities that will lead to corruption of the soul and it will negatively impact your life. Munkar. That's what Allah forbid us from them, like drinking, like gambling, like the list goes on. The fahsha is indecency and mostly about human relationship toward one another. But in this case of munkar, it refers to the rest, the other aspects of our lives. And lastly, wal baghi, the third thing that Allah forbid you from. There's so many, certain activities that we can have here that Allah forbid you from. This action, like breaking your fast, the sin of ghiba and backbiting, or the sin of, let's say, jealousy, or all the other sins that we have. But Allah said the third one is wal baghi. Baghi is transgression, which goes back to the opposite of one form of opposite of adl, justice, is baghi, is in a form of injustice. Baghi is a type of injustice, mostly is when it's in regard of other people. When you undermine someone's right, that's what baghi is. Baghi is somebody who does not care about people's reputation, people's well-being, people's honor, people's wealth, property. They don't care. That's what baghi happens. You transgress. So these 6 commandments of Allah, 3 to do and 3 not to do. So the to-do list of Allah and not to-do list of Allah. Imam Baqir would recite it every Jummah prayer. And then Allah would finish the ayah, يَعِذُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. We will advise you that you may be reminded, because you're forgetful, maybe you ignore it, maybe you're heedless. But this is an advice from Allah. يَعِذُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, that you may find reminder. And then Imam Baqir alayhi salam would finish the ayah with the dua. That Allahumma, oh Allah, make us from the people تَنْفَعُهُ الذِّكْرَى, from those that the reminders will be beneficial to them. Those that they listen and they don't care, rather than those when they are reminded, when they listen to warnings and reminders, they're going to wake up. So that's what our subject regarding injustice and justice is important. And we have the Prophet said about this ayah, and I want you to remember this ayah. It's a very important ayah. Because if God forbid we're committing any form of injustice, when I will come to the different form of it, we're undermining the commands of Allah. We're undermining the stability of the universe and the creation as we know it. Any form of injustice will disturb this balance. When somebody's haqq is being undermined, it's going to affect everything. That's why in Quran, in regard to murder, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if somebody's killed, an innocent person getting killed, it's like that you killed the entire humanity. You disturb the justice of the world. You disturb the balance of the world with murder. And with saving a life, فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا, it's like that you saved the entire humanity. You maintain that balance to continue. And Prophet said in regard of that ayah, verse 9 of Surah Nahl, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ, that this is the most comprehensive, the most complete verse in regard of taqwa. Subhanallah. When we talk about piety and taqwa, this ayah, Rasulullah says, the most comprehensive and complete ayah. Because muttaqeen and pious people, they are the one that they will benefit from the teachings of the Quran. And one thing from the teaching of the Quran is about the importance of justice and idalat. Everything has to be, again, idalat, some people define as equality. That's tasawi in Arabic. Idalat is not about necessarily equality, because sometimes somebody's hard work has to be paid off, and somebody they slacked off, they were lazy, and you cannot treat them equally. That's not justice, that's injustice. So to place everything in the right place is that for a child, their responsibility, for example, fasting in Ramadan is justice of Allah. For those who are physically incapable of fasting due to old age, due to illnesses, Allah said there is no taklif on you, no fasting. For those who can, there is a responsibility. That's what justice is. To not paint everything with the same brush. For someone who have the financial ability, there is a responsibility suitable for their wealth, compatible with their wealth. For somebody who don't have it, that's why even fitriya and zakatul fitr is not wajib for somebody who don't have money. If somebody is eligible to receive it, of course it's not wajib on them to pay it. So in regard of idalat, in Quran, there's this dichotomy, this balance of speaking about both side of the picture, both side of opposite forces. So when Allah talks about Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, for example, in Surah Hamd, we talk about, Ya Allah, guide us toward the straight path. Then we talk about the other path as well, which is the opposite path. It says, Sirat al-mustaqim, sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, that's one side. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. Ya Allah, I want this path, not the other path. Not the path of those who are lost, not the path of misguided. So we are as a student of Quran, as a student of Islam and Ahlul Bayt, we understand in order to understand the straight path, to learn about it, to find it, we need to become familiar about the path of deviance as well. Because if somebody don't know how misguidance happens, what is the path of those who are lost and those who earn God's wrath and anger? How am I going to evaluate my path that if I'm on the right one or not? I don't even know what is the other right, other path. So in Quran is always a balance. When Allah talks about nur, Allah talks about dhulma. As we say in Ayatul Kursi, Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min al-dhulumati ila an-nur walladhina kafaru awliya'ahum at-taghut yukhrijunahum min an-nur ila adh-dhulumat. We talk about the balance. That there are those that they come from the light to darkness, and there are those who go from darkness to light. And you should know about both. And Quran talks about them a lot. And Quran talks about people like companion of the cave, Ashabul Kahf, talks about righteous and good and examples for us. Allah talks about Yusuf alayhi salam, talks about Hud, Salih, all these great example, Asiya salamullah alayha, Maryam salamullah alayha. We have the noble side, we have the heroes of human history, and then you have the villains as well. Allah talks about Fir'aun, Allah talks about the wife of Aziz Misr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Nimrud. So Allah talks about both, talks about Samiri. So there are people that talk, there's a concept called positive psychology, which is about, being positive, focusing, to be grateful for the things you have, focus on what you have. This is good, but in no way somebody have to define it as, oh, I'm going to ignore anything regarding misguidance or regarding negative in my life. You have to still know about the negative. We cannot ignore it. That they are part of our lives. And Quran, this dichotomy is everywhere. When it's about dunya, it's about akhirah as well. There's not one-sided description, one-sided prescription. It's a balanced prescription. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. It's an ayah of Quran. It's a balance. We ask for the khair in this life and hereafter. So it is important to know about that balance. So in that regard, to understand idalat, adl, justice in our lives, we have to learn about dhulm as well. We have to learn about injustice, oppression, transgression as well. That is the way that give us that insight, that basira, to differentiate our action from being dhulm or adl. We have Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam said about the time of Bani Umayyah, in the time of Yazid especially, that in people of that time, the hadith narrated from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, that it was open, a society was open for people to learn about Iman. So it was not an issue for them to learn about how to pray, how to fast, about anything is about related to Iman. But Bani Umayyah, that they created this environment that nobody had the right to talk about kufr. They did not let that happen. That teachers, scholars, they let people and educate people on disbelief and kufr as well. Why? Because if they would have done it, they will be easily exposed. So go focus on your good deeds. No reason for you to obsess about kufr. It's about misguidance, about being lost. Focus on guidance. Go pray, go do your fast, as they told Imam Hussein alayhi salam, go stay in Medina, go to ziyarat of the Prophet, do your prayers, do your supplication, leave Yazid alone. Whatever he does, whatever Bani Umayyah do, let it be. It's not your business. But Imam alayhi salam said, I stood against him. لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي. I needed to reform this ummah, that they are ignoring the signs of kufr. So we need to learn about dhulm. And I'm going to, inshallah, start and leave the rest for tomorrow, and we continue on this subject. Once again, I want to remember this, the subject of our discussion is regarding teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, which Quran and Ahlul Bayt, they are promoting the same message, which is teaching about submission to Allah. Islam means submission. When we recite in Quran that Ibrahim alayhi salam was Muslim, Islam is not necessarily we're talking about a religion as it is today, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the seal of the messenger. No, Muslim in this language of Quran means submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that regard, all of messengers of God, they were Muslim with that definition. Even followers of other books, they're following some kind of submission in Islam toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we have to learn the different types of dhulm. That's a subject, that how Quran says when you come, the first commandments, one of the first commandments of Allah is about justice. And Quran said if somebody is zalim, they will not gain anything but more loss from Quran. And Ahlul Bayt also doubled down on that. That if you are our follower, if you love us, all four our followers have these criterias. They have taqwa. The hadith said that if you are trying to ignore your responsibilities and duties as a Muslim in the name of our love and mawaddah, that you say, I love them, so that's why I'm not as strict or as concerned with my prayer. Or because I love Ahlul Bayt, I'm not going to care that much about my religious dues and responsibilities. Imam ﷺ said, you are going on the wrong path. That's not the way to love us. If you love us, follow us. If you believe in us, then listen to us. So there are different type of dhulm. Again, right now, I wanted to ask ahead of time, but I didn't get the chance. But I'm going to, inshallah, wrap up today, but I will know exactly how much time I have from tomorrow to, inshallah, finish at that time. But specifically, there are three types of dhulm that are noticeable in our lives. One form of dhulm, which is the obvious one that every time we hear the word injustice, we remember and it comes to mind, is dhulm against others. When you oppress others, that's what is the one that comes to mind, which is very important. Because we have, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is a tradition by him. So there are some sins that there easily will be forgiven. There are sins that they will be difficult to receive forgiveness, and there are those sins that they will not be forgiven. But the type of sin that will not be forgiven are people's right. Allah said you have to settle it with them in the day of judgment. And the only way you can convince someone in the day of judgment to forgive you is through your good deeds. Through your good deeds, you offer them. That's what is useful. That's the currency of that day, by the way. That's the way you do business in the day of judgment. The life after death, the currency is amalu salih, is good deed. So if somebody who has amalu salih, they have to offer amalu salih, good deeds, in order to be forgiven. Or if they have no good deeds, maybe somebody will smirk and laugh at, well, I have no good deeds to offer to anyone. So they are not lucky that they dealt with me. I have no good deeds. So in that case, if you have nothing, then you get a negative credit. So from the sins of the person you owe, it will be transferred to your sins. How difficult that is. يوم ينفع مال يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. On that day, your children, your wealth, nothing will benefit you except your soul and what you offered and what you brought forward, what you accomplished in your life. So that's one injustice that is very problematic in this dunya and akhirah. And we have to be careful about them. And by the way, don't think that this kind of injustice only happens by kings or politicians. There, of course, the scale of their dhulm could be much more widespread. If somebody's in a position of power, what the amount of dhulm you can do is, of course, is much greater. But it not necessarily means that I cannot do any dhulm if I'm not a boss of anyone. If I'm not a politician, if I'm not a king, so I can't oppress anyone. No, I still can. I can even literally be a child, right? Be a son and daughter and still commit dhulm. I can be a teenager and commit dhulm. To do injustice is not required. It doesn't have a lot of conditions. As long as you know it's injustice and you do it, it happens. That's why for children, if they make a mistake, if we're talking about very early ages, that they don't know what's right and wrong, there is no accountability in Islam for them. There's no punishment. There is no sin. They're children. They don't know what's right or wrong. But as soon as we start learning right and wrong, as soon as we know that, oh, this is wrong, we come to that mental capacity and cognitive power of making that distinction, then the responsibility and taklif comes with it. That's why we have people who are mukallaf, that they are Islamically at the age of maturity, baligh, and we have people who are mumayyiz. Mumayyiz means you're not baligh yet, but you differentiate good and bad, right and wrong. For that person, we have that hijab has to be maintained in front of them, even if they're not baligh, because they're mumayyiz, they know right and wrong. And with their action also comes responsibility. They cannot say, oh, because I'm not baligh, I can steal. I know stealing is wrong, I shouldn't do it. It's haram. With the power of knowledge and that recognition comes the responsibility. So I'm sorry if I gave you the bad news that if you were not, especially the younger audience, if you have, that okay, from tomorrow, you cannot get away with some of the things you were doing because, oh, I thought I'm not baligh, so it's okay. No, you can't. Still, lie is lie if you know lying is wrong. So, dhulm against others, it's one of the very difficult form of dhulm to be forgiven because you have to settle it with the person you oppress. You have to settle with the people you hurt. So inshallah, I'll leave the rest of the topic for tomorrow. There are other type of dhulm and other type of oppression and injustice that we have to elaborate more on that. Even the one that we talk about, oppression against others. Remember, our family could be easy victims, unfortunately. That's one type of dhulm. When somebody, God forbid, consider that authority to do whatever they want in the family. That could be an unfortunately easy target. So we will elaborate on that how in Islam, domestic violence, how lack of proper treatment of family members, it will create a great dent in our iman. Because it is dhulm, it is injustice. Let me finish with this hadith. Imam Baqir alayhi salam said, my father, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, in the last moments of his life, I approached him and he told me what his father, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, told him in the last moment of his life. And this is the statement. Imam alayhi salam said, Iyaka wa dhulm. Listen, this is the kind of the wasiyah, the will of Imam Zain al-Abidin that he inherited from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam. And Imam Baqir is narrating it. So my father, and so in this case, my father and grandfather told me, Iyaka wa dhulm. My son, stay away from dhulm, injustice, oppression. Especially, man la nasira lahu illallah. The dhulm of those who have no supporter, no backup, no assistant except God. Every kind of dhulm is unacceptable, but a type of dhulm, it will enrage Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that type of a dhulm, that you oppress someone that they have no one. Because as I said, they are weaker and physically, age-wise, financially, whatever is the reason, they have no support except Allah. Stay away from that dhulm. So we should inshallah follow that. To stay from any form of injustice. I remember Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the month of Ramadan, al-wara'u an maharimillah, to stay away from what Allah forbid us from haram. And one great haram is dhulm. When we gossip about people, when we backbite, is dhulm. May Allah inshallah give us the tawfiq of being adil, to be just. You know, as the condition of the leading the jama'ah is to be adil. So of course, we're not talking an absolute form of justice, but at least relevant. That we be able, inshallah, to stand in the day of judgment and expect justice, or even more than that, mercy and fadl from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. At this time, let me see if I have any question. Okay, so I forgot to mention the Slido one, but it's the same as yesterday. So if you have questions, I should have put the code at the beginning. But if you remember, the Slido code was 1214. So if you have any question, you can go to slide.do and put the code 1214 and post your question. But I see some questions here. Okay. They asked the question, which surah chapter was revealed first and last to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Quran was sent to heart of the Prophet at one time, where it took 23 years. The Quran we have in our hand, who collected it in this way? Okay, mashallah, if I answer just these three questions, it's going to take a bit of time, but okay, so first verses that was revealed to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we know, was from Surah Alaq. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. There is a difference of opinion among scholars on that on the 27th of Rajab, but one answer that we can see from the discussions of the scholars over the subject is that in the month of Ramadan, Quran, we have what we know anzala, and then which is referred to a type of revelation and descendant that is at once, and then we have the gradual one, which is tanzil. It's a gradual revelation. So the opinion among scholars is that there's two types of revelation of Quran. One is that inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, we sent down Quran on the night of Qadr. So that's believed to be revealed on the heart of the Prophet, but not in a sense of Prophet reciting the verses right then, but rather than the, as we know from the Lawh Mahfuz, it was sent down, and then it came to Rasulullah's heart. And then in 23 years, it was tanzil. Gradually, it was introduced to Muslim Ummah. So the first chapter, again, could be Surah Alaq, the verses from Surah Alaq that was revealed. But the last one, if you're referring to Surah, believed to be Surah Nasr, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. that is a complete surah that was revealed, the last complete surah. But last ayah, it believed to be the ayahs from Surah Ma'idah, that al-yawm akmaltu lakum dinukum وأكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا, which is referring to the Ghadir and announcement of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. So there is a difference between the complete surah was revealed and the verses that was revealed first and last. Who collected this Quran? This Quran was collected by some of the companions of the Prophet, such as Ibn Abbas, and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they approved this Quran. So it was confirmed by Imam Ali alayhi salam, but it was collected by a group of companions, including Ibn Abbas, one of the reliable companions that Imam Ali alayhi salam accepted. They asked the second question. I don't want to even read the question because this is being broadcasted, but I would say anything that it will lead to increase in tension and break the unity. So I'm answering the question, the second one that I have here. I would say any, we have, fatwa by Maraja that they said any form of insult toward muqaddasat, or what is considered sacred for the other school of thought in Islam, is not permissible. So our mujtahideen and maraji are like that, and if it would have been advisable, our maraji would have said it, Sayyid Sistani would have said it, but the rest of the maraji would have said it. So if they didn't say it, it means it's more of an emotional and people acting on their own judgment. So I would say it's not advisable according to ulama, or many of the ulama and scholars will not advise it, because again, it's just putting a spotlight on something that is not necessary. And if you want to do that, there are a lot of other people. There's a day that other individuals also, if you want to do that, is going to be just taking the importance of other celebrations away. Okay, so do we have any other question? Okay, these are the only question I have on the chat. And you're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in and following. If there's any other question, please remember, tomorrow we will use Slido again. And you can also use the chat to post your question. But if I don't read the question, it's because some of the question, reading it, it will kind of work against the purpose of the question. That's why I didn't read the second question. But inshallah, we'll do our best to, I'll do my best to answer questions to the best of my ability. Please keep me in your du'as, keep me in your prayers, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept once again our a'mal, our efforts in this month, and bless all those who are ill and mareed with quick shifa, recovery and healing, inshallah. And may Allah bless the soul of all of our marhumin, the marhumin of those who are attending here, and those who are watching, and marhumin of volunteers of this program. May Allah inshallah bless their soul. Let's recite Surah Fatiha with the salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh, for your time. Inshallah, we see you again tomorrow at the same time. So you
Inshallah.
come from 7:10 to 8 o'clock or whatever you want, this we discuss. So
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure that, because I thought I got the agenda for a day of Wilada. I just wanted to make sure that's every day.
yeah, your lecture is same time every day, 7:10.
Okay, inshallah.
If we
So
have Wuladat or Shahadat, then we start the program earlier with include other parts of it like Manqabat or Marsiya or Quran or children's, but your time is fixed. You always start at the same time, 7:10, inshallah.
I appreciate it. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So inshallah, we have dua at 9:45 tonight as daily program for Ramadan. Mustafa, you want to say anything about the dua? Okay, inshallah, we conclude the program then. Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.
Khuda Hafiz.